Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Red Pill Podcast number 89. I hope you're all having a beautiful weekend so far. It is December 11th, 33 days since our recent lunar eclipse. We all know what happened on that day. So, lots to get into today. We'll be breaking down some dates, moreover, a review and recap of what we've already been discussing over this past, 10 days or so in the month. We can see Bitcoin here has literally been sideways, pretty much trading within a 2% move to the upside and downside now, going on 11, 12 days straight. So we're kind of at that decision-making point, and we'll be getting into all of that in today's podcast. So couple things before we move forward, some updates as well. If you are new to the Wolfpack and you have yet to get access to our Discord, you'll definitely be wanting to get into our Discord because we have this new project that I've launched and I'm really excited to get into it called Wolves Meetup. So I'll be sharing all the information on that in a moment. But in the meantime, if you haven't gotten into our Discord yet, go ahead and send me a direct message on Patreon with your Discord username and the last four numbers after your username. Do not comment in this video and do not send me an email or anything like that. The only way that I could get you into our Discord is if you privately message me on Patreon with your Discord username and the last four numbers after your username, and I will reply back to you with a Discord invite. As well, we've been doing really good on the voting system for the altcoins every single week, but if you are wondering how I select the coins that I go over every single week on these podcasts, it's because you guys vote on them. So go ahead into the comments of this Red Pill podcast and put down the project that you're interested in me reviewing. I do technical analysis on the project, so if it has at least 1 year of data in the charts, I will be able to go over it. And today we have some interesting projects. Some of them we've went over already in the past, but there are ones that I haven't touched on in quite a while. So I'm interested in getting into those, especially with how boring Bitcoin has been lately. Could be some words of wisdom to come, as usual. Of course, lots of gnosis and clear pills to be handed out during these podcasts, but I'm interested in getting into the TA on some of these projects nonetheless. So just submit the coins that you're interested in, and whatever ones get the most thumbs up, the most likes, that's our voting system, and those are the coins that I will go over in next week's podcast. Red Pill Podcast number 90. It's so amazing. We're close to 100 podcasts. Wow. If you asked me back almost 2 years ago if I thought this day would come, I would say, wow. I would almost be shocked to think of it. But regardless of where the crypto market is at, regardless of where the world at large is at, we've been maintaining and just sticking to our purpose, because that ultimately is what matters the most. And that's what's allowed us to grow and to pause and reflect during these times. For the beings that were really focused on finances and, the material and that side of things, I think by now you're seeing why it's so important to build a better base in your own consciousness, in your own, sense of being, to just be more calm and to be more present and to be more focused on the now moment and not so much on the outcome or the idea of, what tomorrow will bring. And that's really been the main message that we've been breaking down week by week, even though we do talk about the finances and the markets and the charts. But the live streams that I do every week, it's been great to see how many people show up to those. I think next week we are going to try doing a Friday live stream instead of a Saturday one, just to have more of a mix and opportunity to reach out to certain people that might be either sleeping or busy at work on, or just taking the day off on a Saturday. So I love doing these live streams, and I think having the time to pause and reflect on life and to step away from the crypto market and step away from the charts is so wholesome, and it really brings us all together as a community. And this is where the next idea I had came to mind, which is this Wolves Meetup text channel, which you're seeing right here. And over in our Discord, right below the general chat, you're going to see Wolves Meetup, and I have opened up active threads for these countries. So Thus far, we have USA, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, Netherlands, Mexico, all of Europe just kind of combined, and Scandinavia so far. And I will be opening up one for the Americas, which is going to be the North and South America, just kind of combine it all together, sans Mexico and any other things that we already are covered. I believe New Zealand and Australia would make the most sense to be combined together. And then probably Ireland can be combined with the UK. Again, not to offend anyone, this isn't to say that, it's just for the purpose of not having too many threads that don't get used enough, because the way that threads work inside of these text channels is they're only available for 1 week until, or let me state this clearly. If there is 1 week without any activity, without any posting, it will get automatically deleted and everything will be removed. So it's important that if I open up these text channels that they're being used. I mean, maybe even thus far, the Scandinavian one won't be used too much, and eventually it might need to be combined into the Europe one. I don't know. But the whole idea behind this project is for us to all be able to come together and kind of discuss where we're located currently, so it could open up an opportunity for potential meetups. If you're somebody who wants to do that, and if you're somebody who's not interested in that, then you could just disregard everything I'm saying. But I think there's something amazing about having community and bringing people together, and for me to be able to leverage on this platform to bring you guys closer together, I think is something that is a gift at the end of the day. You know, it's an idea that I've had for a while, and I think the way that I'm executing it right now is the perfect time for it. So I know you Aussie wolves are in your summertime right now. I'm sure it's easy for you to get out to the beach together, hang out. There's tons of wolves in Australia, so it's been really amazing to see how active that text channel is. And as well as you guys in the north and Europe, you're used to this wintertime. Perhaps, you know, you're not the type that celebrates the holidays or anything like that, and you just want to gather with some of the wolves in your area. I know the Netherlands is a huge community of the wolf pack, so I'm super grateful to see all the activity there, and of course in Germany. So you guys can use these threads within this text channel as you wish, but the goal and the overall concept behind it is for you to organize meeting up with each other, and you could add each other as friends and send private messages, and really you could talk about whatever you want. I would just recommend you keep it relevant to the actual text channel itself. Lastly, there are some rules posted for this specific project, so please review those. And if you're wondering how to join the threads, it's very simple. You just click on Wolves Meetup, and then at the top right, you're going to see a number, or the hashtag, which is threads, and you see the 9 next to it. Just click that, and it will open up all the list of the text channels, and you could just join them individually. So that's how you do it. It's really simple. And you're not limited to what you want to join. If you live in the USA, but you're really close to Canada, or if you're a traveler, join all of them. You know, get to meet more wolves in your area and, you know, kind of just explore it. It might be a potential new best friend relationship. Who knows? Who knows where this will go? But I think it's a great idea. And we're just getting started with it. So there will be more rules to come as we go. Because if we do get into organizing meetups, we do have to follow, you know, protocol. So needless to say, I just wanted to talk about this during this podcast in case anyone missed my updates within Discord. And if somebody is confused on how to join the threads, I gave you a little bit of a tutorial. And if you scroll up to my post, you will also see there's a message here which shows you how to join the threads as well. So lastly, before we get into some dates, if you guys didn't watch my live stream yesterday, I did talk about new merch. So I have some new merchandise launching very, very soon, and this is the new logo concept. So I designed this, and I worked with Mike 440 over on our Discord, who helped me with all of my merch thus far, more of the graphic design side of things, bringing my idea and my vision to life. So this is the waters above the firmament design that I came out with, and we got our wolf walking through this portal, and I just love this idea. I the idea actually came to me when I was taking a shower, and I just stormed out of the shower and I wrote down the idea and I drew it out, and then it came to life. So yeah, and this code up here, of course, gematria for waters above. So I'm really in love with this idea. I'm going to be coming out with t-shirts. We got some long sleeve shirts, of course, in different colors. And then we have some sweatshirts. I will be doing crew necks as well as these hoodies, probably zip up hoodies as well. You just get an idea. These aren't the only colors. I'm going to have more. And then we're going to be doing some coffee mugs. I really like this color for the coffee mug because it almost like blends in with the logo. And for the coffee mug, I'm going to be making sure to include a coffee recipe. So if people actually want to have high quality brewing method or way of brewing coffee, it'll be included, just like the other coffee mugs. So I thought to get that out there. I know it's the holiday time. People have thought about gift ideas. I do have a gift idea for the courses. If anyone was looking to purchase a course for somebody as a gift, you can reach out to me. It is completely fine if you want to use your Patreon discount that you get, the 20% off of the courses. You're more than welcome if you want to use that discount to buy a course for somebody else as a gift. So, yeah, I think that's all the updates I've thought of so far. And I'll probably remind people again next week on a couple other things in case there's any confusion or any questions that I'm seeing pop up after I post this podcast. We're going to move through some dates because we've already talked about most of these key dates, but we have December 11th, which is today, and we are 33 days since the lunar eclipse that we just experienced. We are well aware that today is a Sunday, so most of today we will not have anything trading except for cryptocurrency. Later today, we'll have Forex, precious metals, and the Dow Jones will open up, so we could get some volatility leading into the weekly close. Keep that in mind. Of course, today being Sunday is the weekly close for crypto. And number 33 is a number of transmutation. It's a really important number. And I don't find this to be the most significant connection I'm going to be sharing with you, but it is just to let you know because we had the 12th in mind. This was a big date that we've talked about. Of course, numerologically, we have 12th month in the Gregorian system, 12th day of that 12th month, and a 12-date numerology. So that's pretty important. And if we're connecting it to the 9/11 date, again, we have that 33. So definitely something to consider. We know this date was big because that was the kind of final big push to the downside for FTT, for the FTX project, and all the shit that went down with Sam Bankman-Fried, of course, being on the 9/11 ritual, just like Terra Luna hit $119 of an all-time high before it went down to zero. So this was all just ritual. And remember, it was on the day leaving 52 days left in the year, and cryptocurrency equals 52 in gematria right there in the Chaldean cipher, as well as we could see that was the 17-date numerology on that exact day, just like FTX equals 17 in Chaldean. I mean, this was all coded, right? It was all just part of the lunar eclipse ritual. We've been waiting for this moment for so long and watching it happen to this specific company and how they've blown up this Sam Bankman-Fried guy into the mainstream with all these big interviews and, legal questions and hearings and etc. That's what they do. They give people theater, bread and circus, so they get look over here so they don't actually pay attention to the truth and what really, really actually matters about all of what's going down here, which this was a psyop. This was a ritual event to push further regulation of cryptocurrency and to kind of weed out the nonsense, which is actually not even fully done yet. We still have about 20,000 cryptocurrency altcoins that are useless and don't have a working technology behind them, and they are bound to go away. And this is just part of that push to make, when that day comes, it'll be sensible because it's already been pulled off. Anywho, I don't want to get too caught, jump around too much, but the 12th tomorrow is definitely an interesting numerological date. And it's pretty much at the tail end of the 5-day window that we discuss when we're talking about lunar cycles. So we're in the full moon energy still, kind of, being up to, 4 or 5 days now. something to consider, right? We're kind of leaving that energy very soon. And by the third quarter moon, we should pretty much be in the transition of energy into the new moon. But this is where it gets really interesting because we have Saturnalia coming up. As I've told you guys, Saturnalia on the 17th through 23rd, as well as this Saturnalia will be starting on a Saturday. So if we go to the 17th, you're going to see right there, starts on a Saturday, the day of Saturn, also with that 17 date numerology, which, we have this connection here. 14 days left in the year. That's also important because we know the number 14 has been ritualized since the last Super Bowl, since the start of the year of the tiger. So lots to say about that, but we've already talked about it in the past. Moving forward, this Saturn Day, being the start of Saturnalia, that's definitely big. Dedicated to the god Saturn, and we know that that's everything connected to the Shemitah, the year of Saturn, which we just left, and we're now in Jubilee year. This date of the 12th, which we're moving in tomorrow, will be the start of the 50th week of this year, and that number 50 is everything to do with Jubilee, right? So I've been talking about this a lot. You should already be well aware of it, but if you're not, go back and watch my last couple videos, and I'm sure you will be filled in. Now, the other thing to consider is a lesser holiday practiced in Judaism, definitely not even in the top 10 probably, but we have Hanukkah, and that will be practiced on the sunset of December 18th. So I think technically we would call it the 19th of December, but it's the sunset of December 18th until nightfall, or you could just call it the end of the day of the 26th. So that'll be the day after Christmas. We have a lot of holidays going on in this time frame, obviously, because we are in the age of, we're in that new age. And this is coming back to Saturn and Jupiter. And that's why it's so important we learn about our mythologies, specifically for those people that are interested in the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Muslim. You will see they're all more alike than they are different. They all practice similar things, and they all come back to the same cult worship. And that is why it's so important that we study Saturn in the mythologies, or Kronos, and it's very important that we study Jupiter or Zeus. It's all the same, Roman, and it's Greco-Roman mythology that has been anthropomorphized into these stories that get taught to people. And so moving on. We have this Hanukkah date, not necessarily the biggest and most important Jewish holiday, but it is something to bring up because it is within that time frame of Saturnalia as well as Christmas. So Christmas will actually be on it's the 24th, 25th. We all know this. It's the 3 darkest days of the year in this hemisphere. Christmas Eve is important, though. Let me go to that date of the 24th. Because it's the day leaving 7 days left in the year. And just like we were talking about with Saturn and the Shemitah, and that all comes back to number 7. That's the number of Saturn. So keep that in mind, 7 days left in the year, right after this important Shemitah year, which was the 7th cycle of 7, which now we're in the Jubilee. Christmas being 7 days left in the year is definitely something that is just, the Christmas Eve moving into the Sunday, that seems pretty special to me. So let's quickly talk about this particular day of Christmas and kind of the final connection to share, which I think is really interesting. Decoders in our community will definitely enjoy what I'm about to share. If we connect Christmas Day, the Sunday, to the lunar eclipse date, the 11/8 date, we're going to have a connection to gold and silver. This is really interesting, okay? And we could see the number 47 here, and we could see the number 79, all right? And 47 and 79 are, and by the way, the only date numerology I really care about is this double-digit date numerology and the standard date numerology before reduction. Just want to clear that up if anyone's confused. So I give a lot of merit to this double-digit date numerology, and this is just because of the past 3 years of me really studying this code and utilizing this code, and especially since starting the YouTube channel and decoding actively and professionally. So 79 and 47 those are the periodic table, the actual atomic numbers of silver and gold. And you can see they're stacked right on top of each other. Silver being the 47th and gold being the 79th. And 79 is a really powerful number because that's the 22nd prime number, okay? But anywho, let's take this even further. This date of Christmas is going to be the 359th day of the year. 359 is actually the 72nd prime number. So that connects back to Bitcoin, 72. That connects back to money, 72. And even like what we were saying before, the number 79 is actually the 22nd prime number. That connects you back to titanium, and titanium has the atomic mass of 47. And this is derived from the Titans, the sons of Gaia and Uranus in mythology. Titanium, Titans, you got to think about this. This is all mythology. It's the periodic table of elements, El, the supreme god of gods. So 359th day of the year, 72nd prime, coming back to basically money and Bitcoin. Really fascinated by all of this. And if you flip the number 72, you can see the 27 as well in money, but you could even tie this back to currency with 27 right there in Chaldean, as well as the, we were just talking about Hanukkah. Okay, that's 27 in Chaldean, which ties back to Jupiter, which is 27 in Chaldean. Think about what this whole year is about. Jupiter is the king of the gods who defeated his father Saturn, which is the theme of this entire Jubilee year that we're in. And you know that 27 also ties back to Ripple with 27. And this is a Jupiter coin. This has a lot to do with the whole process of us moving into this new quantum system. We know Ripple plays a big role in it. It's one of the bigger reasons why I'm so fascinated with this project and why I cover it week by week. But just wanted to share a couple connections with you guys. And obviously you're well aware that this Q4, end of Q4 timeframe is always really critical in markets. It's typically when we see some selling off for tax loss harvesting. It's typically where we see all-time highs and all-time lows in the market. I'm not saying we always see them. It's just when we look back at all the bull runs of the past, we tend to get the most extreme volatile moves to the upside or downside during this time frame. So that's why it's so important. Moving on, let's get to some TA. And I would like to start this one off with the DXY, with the dollar currency index. It's been a little bit of time since I've spoken about it, and I think this is important to discuss today. So this is a fib pattern pulled back from December 2016. And just like I was telling you before, we tend to get these moves in December. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Like when you see these, just that one example of what I was talking about before, we didn't see a new high in the structure from that December all the way until, wow, you know, how many years later is that? 6? So think about that, man. What I was just saying before about Q4 and the power of it. We know that Bitcoin hits most of its all-time highs around this time of year anyways, and we know that it hits all of its all-time lows around this time. So let's continue, get back to this DXY analysis. I don't want to jump around too much. I want this to be very thorough. We have a fib pull from this high down to this swing low, which is just a typical swing high, swing low Fibonacci retracement. And this is in a logarithmic setting with the log setting turned on in the fib settings. You could see that by scrolling to the bottom. You'll see fib levels based on log scale, and I am also in logarithmic scale. Now, this is amazing because I could see a clean W here, and we broke out of this clean W, and we went straight into the 1618, the golden ratio, perfectly tapped the 1618, got rejected harshly, and you could tell that this is a rejection, a really noticeable rejection, because the high in the structure is a red candle. That's very normal when you've topped out, when basically your buying pressure gets exhausted, when it becomes overbought. Now, getting exhausted perfectly at the 1618 is not coincidence. This is typical TA. I teach you guys this in my mastermind course, my advanced trading, etc. But we also have a measured move. If I was to take from this neckline, which is perfectly at the top of the golden pocket, the 786, I'm counting that and not counting these two back-to-back candles right here, because this was clearly a a fake out shakeout of an automatic rally. I don't want to go all over the place, but I do think it's important we talk about these ideas. We have a buying climax, selling climax, automatic rally, and you could see the same absorption effect or rejection effect like we get up here, where it's like a twin towers, back to back, perfect candles, perfect structure, twin towers candle. Rejection, boom, come right back down into the lows. This was a clean and beautiful W pattern. And if I was to place my breakout right at that rejection level of all of these candles, it's at the top of the golden pocket, which is very conservative. And if we were to really see where we went up to, I mean, it's within reason. We barely spent any time trading above that level to begin with. So in English, this translates to, we've completed our measured move to the upside for this W pattern. Is there more room to go? Yes. But in the meantime, just consider this analysis. So another thing that may be foreign to people, but any seasoned analyst, you already know this. When the DXY is bullish, the rest of the market looks bearish. When the DXY starts to get bearish, the rest of the market typically gets bullish. But during a Shemitah, we get lots of manipulation. So during the Shemitah year, which we watched this all occur, we see precious metals, indices, and really highly speculative things like tech stocks and cryptocurrency dances around, and it'll do whatever the market maker wants it to do against fundamentals, against the technicals. Even though if you're really seasoned in what TA really is, you can determine all this shit without even using the word manipulation. See, if you lack the skill of TA, if you lack the actual skill of what technical analysis is, it's very quickly, it's the first thing that somebody wants to pull out when they talk about charts is the word manipulation, or they use that term, but it actually becomes a lot clearer what's happening once you learn about the lunar cycle, once you learn about eclipses, once you learn about these more esoteric principles, and you notice that it's not really manipulation as much as it is predetermined. It is pre-programmed in from its inception. From its genesis, it was designed to do this. That's everything from Google to eBay to Bitcoin to gold. All right. So yes, there's the word manipulation, but it's so quickly thrown out by people who don't even know TA. And that's why I think it's important to learn TA before commenting on these sorts of things, right? It's almost like talking shit about a restaurant that quote unquote made bad food, but you don't even know how to cook yourself. Now, you don't need to learn how to cook to have an opinion, of course, but I guarantee you once you start learning how to cook, you're going to see it in a whole different way. And then when you go to restaurants or you go to eat other people's food, you're going to have a different perspective on it. You're going to see that it takes time and effort, and it's really a serious skill that you got to put in some hard work to develop. Same thing with TA, man. So moving on, there is a clean W pattern here, clean measured move to the upside, which hit a perfect technical level. And now it would be very likely for us to come back to the one, which is the start of the breakout where the fib pull was initiated, the swing high. And we are in the process of doing such. So we've come pretty much into that level. I mean, there's a little bit more to go, but we're pulling hairs here. Having a bounce off this level could actually indicate a lower high. And that's where I kind of like, we need to see how that goes. But in the meantime, this does not confuse me because I think there's a potential for like maybe us to get a little bit of recovery on this DXY for early January. And then we actually keel over into the 888 or as low as the 786 perfectly at 100 points. That is something I could see happening into like June, July, followed by a really noticeable rally into the end of that year. This, again, all makes sense to me because we typically see it takes 1 year for the stock market to bottom out after the Shemitah. So again, in English, that's September of this 2023 year that's coming up. It's a while from today. It's like 10 months away. But having a move down into the summertime for the DXY and then a recovery would actually align perfectly with this idea. So It's a very long-term outlook on the DXY, but I think it plays an overall, it'll show us the overall structure of what's to come potentially for the market. Now, if we start to see the DXY actually break above like 109, that right there could get ugly. And that would be probably postponing this idea of having a little bit of a relief rally. But more than likely, I'm still assuming a relief rally for the crypto market because we've seen so much market cap leave this market. I'm like $1.3 trillion off of the table from crypto since its all-time highs. It's a lot of money, man. And we can still watch a lot of these altcoins that I spoke on earlier, these 20,000 altcoins. We could still watch them drain out to nothing while recovering an overall market cap. That would just be about rotation. And that's kind of what happened at the beginning of 2018. If you go back to that, I'll show you. We could see very clearly here this move. And in this move, we watched a lot of things completely go to zero. And then there was a recovery phase where even during this recovery phase, there was still projects continuing to go to zero. And it's just all that liquidity was flowing back into Bitcoin. It was flowing back into Ethereum. It was flowing back into XRP. So think about what I'm teaching, what I'm sharing right now. It's not an opinion. It's something that's happened before. And it's not isolated to crypto. It happened in the tech stock boom as well back in 2000, 2001. So just give me a second. I'm going to drink some water. Okay. So now we're into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And I got to admit, this bounce that we're getting right here is... it would be perfect for a recovery off of this 888 fib because that's just like a really normal thing to do, but not backtesting the automatic rally would be equally as strange. So a couple things to say here because I don't want to confuse people is another leg down by early January. The January full moon, which is January 6th, is still in play. Okay? Yes, it is still in play, regardless of this December move that we're experiencing right now. We can actually see crypto maintain steady and watch the Dow Jones and the stocks actually move down over the rest of this month. And we could just see crypto slightly move up into the new moon and then roll over really fast. Like we get these big red candles. We're used to it in crypto, right? Look at this big red weekly candle, 25%, 20%, 14%, 22%. 22%. We are used to this shit where we drag up slowly, we drag up, and then we just have boom, devastation candle. All right. But it's not going to be devastating to us because we've been waiting for this moment. All right. Could that happen in the full moon? For sure. The full moon of January. It could look something like this. Very basic, but just an idea. Excuse me. You see how we're moving up like that, and then we have this event. That wouldn't be weird to me if we had one more move up and then another red candle equally to that, maybe tap down into like 14, and that would probably be the end of it. That would really, really shake things out, especially if it doesn't come down any lower than like 13. That would really, really mess people up. And one thing I want to share that's perhaps a little on the philosophical side, and I think it's something I've gathered through paying attention to the sentiment of people, specifically since the last YouTube video that I pulled out, is now way too many people are calling for a sub 10K Bitcoin. Like when we have markets on the upside, people start calling for absurd levels to the upside without any proof. And when we're really oversold, we have people calling for even more dramatic levels to the downside without any proof, meaning no TA, really no fundamental data to share at all. Now, I think it's important that we listen to that type of sentiment because that is one of the ways of the wolf. You have to pay attention to when too many people are scared, to when too many people are overly bearish, to when too many people are overly bullish. All of that is a signal for you to like be more conservative and question how you are going to analyze this market and build your overall investment thesis. So just some words of wisdom there. Me having my ear to the ground and observing curiously, I'm noticing too many people think Bitcoin's going to go to like 10K or less. Now, is it possible for that to happen? Yes, of course. Anything is possible in this matrix, but we're cutting it very close. And the cyclical nature of this market is very obvious by now. It has not changed. And I'm playing the esoteric game and staying calm and building my investment thesis in the background and observing curiously when I see a lot of retail pile up on the same sentiment. So I haven't even looked at the fear and greed index in so long. Let's see where that's at. Not to kill time, but just to like seriously see what's going on. Okay, we're just still there, and fear, basically extreme fear, kicks in at 25. Yeah, it'd be pretty noticeable to see what January brings us. If we're going to get a move to the downside, it'd probably bring you into that 15, 10 level on fear and greed, and that'd be a beautiful opportunity for everyone. Really a beautiful opportunity to start the dollar cost averaging protocol. And for people that want to know my methods and everything that I'm doing about this market, it just goes back to my crypto mastermind course. So if anyone's interested in that, I really cover all those basics on how to build portfolios and all of that jazz. I might even make more videos in the future. I just kind of need to get rid of how do I say this? I need to let this market play itself through, and then I need to reassess exactly what the next phase of this market is. Because right now we have so much shit going on. We have what's been going on with exchanges and earned interest wallets and hardware wallets, and what's going on potentially even with regulation. And I just don't want to waste my time making things that, then don't work anymore because of all the shit that can change. And the TA that I share and the esoterica that I share, that doesn't need to change. The same TA that I teach in my courses is the same TA that I'm using today, and it's how I build my investment thesis. The only thing that would really need to change about it is things like what projects to pay attention to, or what, would be the best way to go about security on this one particular, exchange or whatever, right? It's little things like that. So I'm paying attention in the background, but I'm really focused on the bigger picture. And like I've said to people many times, when it comes to my investment thesis in the short term, I'm really focused on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. I'm keeping it simple. And simple where I'm at in my with my portfolio and everything that I've experienced over the past 2 to 3 years, I'm fine with being conservative and just focusing on, what matters most and what I see is the future. So getting into this TA on Bitcoin, this is really beautiful to see this bounce. It looks very similar to what we saw back here. Just this initial leg down led to a quick spike and then a return down with a slightly higher low. And then we just had this arduous, slow churn to the upside week after week after week. And that sort of might be what's going to happen after January. After January, we might get one more swipe and then have this slow build. And then after that slow build, we have this noticeable breakout candle. And that would not surprise me if we hit into that maybe the February or March new moon. Probably February new moon, but we'll take it one step at a time. Let's zoom in a little more and see what's going on here. So let me go to this chart. So you can see Bitcoin's very sideways. We're about 12 straight days, not much development at all. And Bitcoin's just clearly getting rejected here. It's $17,200 over and over and over and over again. The RSI is stabilizing somewhere around 50 on the nose. We'd still see we're in negative territory in the MACD, so nothing to throw parties over, and we're still in the lows of the structure with no break of any highs. So we're still below 21.5. Again, no parties to be had here. The next move to the upside stands at $18,200. We're a full $1,000 away. Bitcoin can make that move in a single 1 hour candle, get rejected, and keel over. So this is a clear prior support level that could potentially become a resistance, and that's why people need to be careful, because this is 150 days of treating this as a support, and it broke down perfectly at the lunar eclipse. Now we've yet to backtest it. So until we backtest it, we won't know if this is confirmed flip of support into resistance. But in the meantime, we need to get to it and we need to do something about it. If we were to have a move up, let's just say for whatever reason, into the new moon, into this level and get rejected, and then start to actually plant lows beneath these structural lows right here, then I would assume that would be a moment to either have a double bottom somewhere around 15,500 or a real one last swipe to the downside. And then you'd probably start to see like bullish divergence and all sorts of signals to say, go, 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 like build positions. Again, that's not financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying what I will be doing based on those conditions being met. Another thing, we do have this trend line, descending trend line, not too much to get involved in, but if we were to see an initial move to the downside, that would be the most sensible place to hit first. It would align with two things. One, the horizontal support, and also this trend line, the white trend line. But we don't have a ton of data here. We really don't. We have like about 5 or 6 candles to work with. So basically, once you break 16.3 on the downside, you have very little data to have fun with. And the data we have goes all the way back to 2020. It's crazy, right? Super, super crazy to think about. And that's like overall why there's a strong thesis for 13,500 in the cards. It would make a lot of sense for that to be the last swipe. Swipe or no swiping. So, because Bitcoin's been so sideways, there's not a whole lot to add regarding TA. All I could say is to just consider those conditions to the upside and the conditions to the downside, and that's probably a good enough place to go. Let's look at some of the moving averages. Okay, we're maintaining the 8 simple moving average. That's great. We have the 200s and the 55 still sloping to the downside, so that's not so good. 8 has been maintaining on the 2-day closes. That's fine. The 3, okay, the 8. Oh, well, here we go. Now we have a rejection on the 5-day, the first rejection we've had since breaking through it back on the eclipse. And tonight is the 5-day close. Okay, so this is pretty important. Today is a 5-day close as well as a weekly close. And I think this 8 simple being a rejection is a solid sign of, there's not enough juice in this coin right now to push us up. And if we are going to get pushed up, it's probably going to be not super explosive just because we don't have anything up against us. We don't really have any money coming into this market. There's no retail. And unless the Fed does something, which I think the Fed is meeting this week. So share in the comment section what you guys think about that Fed meeting. People keep throwing around this word pivot and all that, but whatever. It's just spellcast speak to give people exoteric information for them to have meaning behind what's happening. But it really just comes back to the esoteric anyways. So 55... still sloping to the downside. We had a pretty brutal cross going back there. Weekly 200 sloping to the upside. That's fine. These two are pinching together. 55 sloping down. I mean, ultimately, if we're going to get an automatic rally in this market, that 55 would be the level that you'd want to look to. Probably hit into this as your first level. And then depending on how we go, if we have a wolf cross, which we saw happen back here, that wolf cross initiated us to the completion of the automatic rally, which would be, for Bitcoin, the completion would probably be about 47,000, which would be insane, to get in on BTC below 17K and then be able to de-risk at a 180%, 150% gain in the midst of what people are calling a bear market. It'd be amazing. Considering the stock market has 9%, 10% returns yearly, you could pull that move off with Bitcoin in less than half a year. So let's get to ETH because the conditions are pretty much the same. Let me turn off this, getting a little, okay, great. So we could see a similar thing happening to ETH where we had this prior support level right over here, which was a noticeable support, really choppy around this level for about a month. And then we came back, snuck below it, and now we're getting some rejections on it. So it's confirmed as a resistance. And it was clearly a resistance going back here. We had this 1 rejection, 2 rejection, holding as support, bunch of rejections here after we cascaded below it. And now again, same structure as Bitcoin. So the TA doesn't really change. But this is showing you that this level of 1280 was important, and I'm glad that I shared it with everyone going back to probably the end of the Shemitah. So it's playing very key for ETH. And this gives a horizontal trading range for us to consider between 1,300 and 1,100. That would be your horizontal trading range. And we can absolutely get rejected off of this, maybe even come down into a low here. I would say it's more likely double bottom, at least down to 1,000 flat one more time in January. Ultimately, maybe 886. That would make a lot of sense going off this bearish fib pull that I made, where I'm taking from this level right here of the 1,700 up to the all-time high. We're doing it in a reverse, and we already hit that level back there, so it would be a macro double bottom. That would look like a beautiful setup too for a W breakout, like a big W breakout. I'm talking about like a monthly. I know this looks absolutely crazy right now, but that's kind of like the idea here. And this W would probably break you up into like 3,000 flat, 2,700 to 3,000. Same idea behind the automatic rally for Bitcoin. I'm going to move on because there's not a whole lot to say on that. The same thing with XRP. XRP is doing the same overall thing. Not a whole lot of TA to share. I could get into some moving averages if that helps, but okay. So rejections on the 34, not so good. We would like to get holding the 34 on a support plus having the 13 EMA flip the 34. 8 is playing as a resistance at this time. If I turned off all these drawings, you'd be able to see. Sloping to the downside on our key macro moving averages. Same picture here. Oh, we got a little bit of a wolf cross down here with a bearish sentiment. It's funny to say that. It's not what I meant to say, but it's funny to say that. Okay, so the 200 EMA is big for XRP on the weekly chart, and that was a big rejection level for it back in October. So the fact that we're about to see all these three pinch together, the 200 exponential, 200 simple, and the 55 simple, all coming into one, that would mean that if XRP can start closing weekly candles above 56, 57, that would probably lead to what we consider an automatic rally, which I would assume gets to $1 XRP. And then you got to evaluate, any moves to the downside would be a really beautiful final opportunity. And that would be clean at like 32 cents to below. So 32 cents is a downside level for probably the next 30 days, sometime within the next month from today. Yep. Okay. I'm going to leave it at that because really not a whole lot to say just because of the way of the market. Let's go into Filecoin. Let's see what's going on here. I haven't covered this in some time. This is the all-time chart for this coin. Okay. So it did exist back in the last bull run, got a little bit of a push into the finality, I suppose, of the alt season of 2018. Then it came back, pretty dramatic drop, losing about 92, 93%, same as all the other altcoins. And now this is the most noticeable trading range. I would assume the VPVR actually aligns with this level. There you go. So it's pretty much right there. Ooh, that's not looking so good, actually. Okay, I'm going to leave this up, but we'll get to the VPVR analysis in a moment. So this is clear where it likes to trade, somewhere between $4 and $5. That's where this coin likes to trade. And then it led to a move all the way up to 200. Is that 233? Let me make sure. What's the all-time high on this shit? Because that'd be too funny. I know this data isn't always reliable, but I'm doing what I can, right? Oh, this is ranked 31 market cap. That's pretty impressive. It's a lot of market cap. Okay, 237. Nice. Thought it'd be, if it was 233, that would have been so good. It's an important number, Fibonacci number. Okay, so, yeah, we're clearly, we could clearly call this buying climax, and then we're pretty much at selling climax. 98%. Whew. Okay. So this has lost most of its value. And it's still 31 market cap. How unbelievable is that? Like, geez Louise. Okay, but the reason that I made the noise before is because the VPVR, we held it on a support with a little bit of a reaction to the upside, followed by one last touch and another jump to the upside. But then we cascaded through it during the lunar eclipse, and now we're actually seeing resistance on it. And I know it might be hard to see, I just don't want to zoom in too much because if I zoom in, it's going to erase this data and it's going to move this red line. So give you an example of what I'm talking about. Oh, it's staying. Okay, very good. That's great. So this is holding the data, which was really awesome. If anyone plays around with this indicator VPVR, you know that as you change the time frames and as you change and adjust, it's probably because this coin only has like 2 years of data. If you were to use this indicator with Bitcoin, it would act totally different. But that's great. So that's the fun part about TA. Use your indicators and play around with them. You'll learn more about them and how they work with all the asset classes. Anywho, yeah, clearly holding on this VPVR zone. That's a big trading range area. It's where most of this cluster of trading range is back here. And that's not a good sign because ultimately I would see that there's a possibility for this to come down as low as $3.30. If I showed you, you'll probably see if I just put it right here. So this is a cluster of area. You could see some supports there, some resistance there, and then a breakthrough. And then when we broke through, we came right back down to it, retested a bunch before we launched off. So it seems like $3.20, $3.30 is probably the key area for Filecoin. If we're going to have one more swipe to the downside, and that's pretty exhausted in selling pressure. I could not imagine we're going to go lower than that. It's going to be hard to get data on this. But yeah. So let me turn this VPVR off. And yeah, that would probably be the level that if it's going to move one more leg down, that's a lot of market cap drainage, man. Wow. Wowie zowie. Yeah, this really took a shit. Okay. Well, personally, I'm not really super interested in this, but this blow off is compelling. Wait, when I show you this on linear, this is why I don't look at linear anymore because it just looks ridiculous. But talk about a fuck you candle, you know? Like this was a nice coin to be in, but for a really short amount of time. And that's why blow-offs are powerful because they suck you in with sentiment and they're hard to leave. But this was an intense move to the upside, just straight line breakout, and it came down just as fast. There's your bull trap. The bull trap opportunity on an altcoin is so short-lived. And then just boom, more downside, 95% or 98% losses so far. So this is not a very trustworthy thing by the charts. Again, if you have a thesis built around this project, have fun with it. But this is not something that I'd personally be interested in. I don't really love the chart. Doesn't have a whole bunch of data, unfortunately, like most altcoins. So if I was to invest in this, it would probably be later in the recovery cycle. It would not be in the immediate short term. So downside level will be really the opportunity here because everything else is just lower highs. As for recovery, I mean, maybe be lucky if it gets back to $16. $16 would probably be a recovery, and you'll know that's engaged once it passes this level right here. So that would be a weekly close above $10. You're probably going to move to 16 if you're lucky, maybe between 27 and 16, and then that's about as high as I see it recovering. On the automatic rally, in the next cycle, then sure, it could perhaps recover fully and have a new all-time high. But that's a long ways away. Now we're looking at Proton, which is XPR, not to be confused with XRP. And this is the all-time chart as well that I was able to find. Okay, very wavy, kind of like the Chronos chart. Okay, 96% losses, so that's pretty good. Most of the conditions to the downside are met on this. Let me look at... Yeah, so break below that 1618 on the bearish pull plus rejection and one leg lower. That's just showing a lot of weakness. So yes, lots of weakness in this. A horizontal level that's clean as day to me would be here, about 0035. Probably pull that down a little lower. That'd be my level, and then another secondary level would be right there. And this level didn't even exist until we broke a leg lower into the summertime of 2022. So now your recovery levels are going to rely heavily on getting above this right there. And that would probably take you somewhere into like 008. Let me see where the fibs line up with what I just said. Yeah, that would make sense. Like slightly below the 0.5 fib or into the 0.5 fib. It's a regular level. Seeing a coin like this get all the way back to the 618 is highly unlikely. Just based on this chart, based on the data, and I'd assume also based on retail involvement, because that's really what it takes. The difference between the 0.5 and like the 702 fib is all retail involvement. It's just final push of FOMO, and then the sell wall is engaged by the market maker. But that final little push of like these big wicks that you're seeing, these random, like just pause the video and look at all these random liquidity, wicks to the upside. This thing just has needles sticking out of it. Okay. That's retail. That's retail and leverage trading. That's not smart money. Okay. The smart money is the one that created that wick on that created the rejection. You feel me? So they'll push it up slowly at the lower levels, and then they'll let everyone pile in, and then they just have their sell wall. And that's where it's a messy game of emotion. They really leverage on your emotions. So I would assume there's a big reason why people are interested in this project. I don't know anything about it. Please fill us in on what's going on with this. I wonder, is it connected to Proton Mail? Proton Mail, I recommend Proton Mail. I think it's good enough. But is it connected to Proton Mail? Let me know. So as for the ultimate amount of move to the downside, this could still give up some of its gains because it's in price discovery, just in the downside. It has no support. It's broken through its support back in Rosh Hashanah, basically. And now we're at new lows. This is not looking good. Because it's the pits of hell below, Again, I'm not saying this to offend anyone. This is just, it's the clear pill. Like, it needs to be said. TA and these charts, they're speaking volumes. Overall ROI, minus 96%. Jesus Christ. So what are we looking at with this exactly? Like, I just want to know what is going on with this. 0017. So it's reached its all-time low ever, like last month, which means that January full moon could really put some pressure on this thing. All right. So guys, be careful with shit like this. Now, recovery opportunity is kind of difficult, but I would say it's probably 009 or like I said before, like 008, 009. That'd be where I would be looking at. But yeah, be super careful with this Proton thing. Okay, API 3. Had a lot of people recommend this week after week after week. I think I did cover it back in the day. Let's see what's up now. Get about 90%, so there's definitely more downside to go. It tapped on $1. That's good. It's kind of like a nice, clean psychological level. Let's see some fib. Let's just pull an overall fib and see what we've gotten thus far. Oof. Okay, this is not good. All right. So you have all these rejections at the 236 are showing weakness plus multiple lower highs. So I would be surprised if we see recovery first before at least getting a double bottom. So this thing has a double bottom opportunity. The problem is if we break that double bottom, then we have nothing below. So this thing could easily go down into 80 cents, 70 cents, etc. merely because just most altcoins tend to lose about 98%. So if we were to take from that high, I'll even be conservative. I'll take from here. All right, that actually wouldn't be conservative for the point that I'm trying to make. Yeah, dude. Whew. I mean, this thing could really fucking go down. But one thing I will say is it doesn't... Okay, this is what I will say, because I don't want to hurt anyone's, like... It only had about a 500% growth. Let's look at the all-time data here, because this could be helpful. Obviously, if we have a coin that is done 100,000% gains, then to see it lose 98% is not weird. But if we have a coin that only gains 500%, then only losing 90% or 92% is not bad. Like, that's not weird. That makes sense? Okay, so it has gained, like, I mean, oh no. The all-time low was recently. Yeah, this isn't good. Okay. So, yeah, no, this is not good. The reason this is not good is because this can just continue to go down. If there's nobody to step in, people need to step in. Yeah, I don't feel good about these charts. I just don't. This is not because you can have your spring event and the selling climax isn't even fulfilled at all. So, yeah, I would assume January could bring this down to $1, and then if it starts to close macro candles below $1, then this shit could probably really drain out, and that's not going to be fun. I wouldn't touch this thing with a 1,000,000-foot pole. Again, no offense, Red Pill Podcast. These are really sketchy projects, and that is the confirmed all-time low, so even more sketchy. Like, think about it. That thing didn't even have. I'll just say one final thing. Okay, yeah, never mind. It didn't even have chart data that far back. Yeah, it's not enough data, man. That's what makes it really, really sketchy. Okay, now we're on Singularity Net, another one of these projects with not a lot of data, and we have covered this in the past. Excuse me, I'm just quickly need to take a sip of water. Okay, so the fib pull here is a bearish fib pull from this swing low to this swing high. It's in reverse on purpose. We're on log scale, and this is on a logarithmic setting, as you can see. And we are trading into the 1.618, the golden ratio, which is very normal. And since hitting down on it, we basically played in this area for 180 days. Mamma mia. Okay, this is a long time. And even this level, I don't know when I drew this out. This could have been a long time ago because I think I covered this in like Red Pill Podcast 40. So we're at 89. Could that be true? I mean, maybe I did some TA on this for fun one random time, but yeah, if my memory serves me, it's been some time since I've done Singularity Net. Getting these rejections at 6 cents is clear to me that there's a problem here. There's a sell wall by the market maker. They don't want this thing to be pushed up higher. And then our 236 is at 6 cents. You can see that fib pull that I have right here, and our 236 is perfectly at all these rejection levels. So let me duplicate this and show you with like a red line. And then I'm going to delete this for just a second. Okay, so you can see I have a swing high to swing low. We're in log setting, log turned on, and our 236 is where we're getting all of these rejections. We have some big liquidity moves, which is like probably just isolated to the Binance exchange. If this is happening on every exchange, then these are serious fake out shakeouts. But that 236 getting rejections is a sign to me that this show isn't over. The one thing I can say though is this low followed by this attempt at a higher low with a ton of trading in that lower area. That's not bad. This could be the actual low. Let's measure. Just 95%, could go lower. So we'll see what January full moon brings. But like I said earlier, we can watch Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, a lot of that stuff recover and continue to recover while a lot of other coins drain out in market cap. The super speculative shit, the stuff that is not household names, at least in the crypto sphere. What's going on with this? 305th market cap. Yeah, this kind of shit has red flags all over it. You really got to pay attention to having big positions and stuff like this. Like anything over 3%, you're really there's a lot of risk. And clearly this hasn't performed to the point where I don't get the I mean, I could see the speculation behind the fact that it's called Singularity Net, and perhaps that's what's intriguing to people. But like, bruh, this thing is just not a good performance. Did it really go to $1? Wow. This thing could potentially be fractions of a penny by the time it's done. So yeah, I would definitely not put too much of my prana into this one. But if it wants to break macro candles above this 236, above zero, or like 7 cents, then there's an opportunity for it to maybe get back to like 14 to 15 cents would be great. It's a possibility. That would be like your automatic rally. But yeah, same story as most of the other altcoins. Okay, lastly, we're going to talk about Flow. I know got this voted on many times by Susie. So much love, Susie. I just want to throw this one in here at the end for you. You've been patient, and this week it did get about as many votes as most of the other coins. So let's get into it. So first and foremost, horrible chart. Really. We got a crown top distribution, probably a push into the golden pocket with rejections. There you go. So we have our crown distributional top, roll over pretty dramatically, coming up into the golden pocket, plenty of rejections, then starting to come into the 236 with rejections on the 236. This is something I teach you guys. So after you have this move from top to bottom, it's normal to have a reaction into the golden pocket. Then it's normal to have rejections at least the 786, sometimes as high as the 888. Then you're immediately anticipating to break the bottom of the golden pocket, show it as resistance, which will then lead us to the 236, which will then lead to the 236 being resistance, which will then lead us to new lows, which will then lead us to a continuation of the lows. Everything I just said is so important. Rewind it, write it down verbatim. That's like a master class on how to use a bullish fib retracement tool. So enjoy. Now, this thing is continuing to make newer lows. So you had your low over here in June, another lower high, and then even breaking to newer lows. So this thing was once $44. It's now $1, which means that it's lost pretty much 98% of its value. The only place this is flowing is to the downside. Now, this moment right here where it broke was probably the SOS moment. Like, get out. 440, because once we broke there, you're just banking on this wick of nothingness. So this is the all-time chart that I could get for this particular coin. These are really not sustainable. I do assume that once this starts closing macro candles, meaning like a 5-day, weekly, bi-weekly, etc., once it starts closing, that could happen as early as this week. I do think that you're going to start to see sub $1 become a normal trading range for this project. You could probably start to see it getting into the 80s, 70s slowly, while liquidity enters things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the top projects. And stable coins, of course. So yeah, this is clear downtrend. I mean, this is probably the best example of a downtrend you could explain. So yeah, I mean, really not much to say on this. You could assume potential automatic rally incoming after a break of $3.26. So even that move from $1 up to $3 would be great. And then you could potentially get maybe into this area right here. Let me show you. Right there. That'd be $4.40. That'd probably be the line where you'd consider to get out. If this was to have any recovery at all. You're really playing with fire if you think it's going to go higher than the 0.5, especially after this perpetual downtrend. But, 0.5 is your textbook level, so you always want to keep that in mind. If you have any limit orders set, you'd probably want to keep them slightly below the 0.5, which for this would be easy. It would just be $6 flat. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Again, this is the Red Pill Podcast number 89. Just because I don't enjoy what the charts look like, it doesn't mean it's a bad project. I'm just sharing my unapologetic ruthless truth as a technical analyst, a professional technical analyst. And I think perhaps maybe next week we'll cover Hex. I know there's a lot of people in our community that are into Hex. It's been a while. We've given it some time, and perhaps I'll even have another interview with Crypto Coffee whenever he reaches out to me again to kind of follow up on what's been going on with this project. Again, chart is not looking good at all. And it's doing exactly what I said it would do, even though it was upsetting a lot of people in the Hex community. Well, we watched the TA come to fruition and all of my key levels have been hit. I have not adjusted this chart since my interviews. So, maybe we'll get into that next week and kind of like explore more about the future of this and some other things. So I appreciate every single one of you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend in the Matrix. Definitely share an introduction in the Wolves Meetup text channel. Let us know where you're from in the appropriate text channel, of course. And I'm excited to launch some new merch. I'm excited to, have some new ideas for gifts for the holidays for anyone who wants to invest in my art and share it with your family and friends. It means the world to me. I'm so grateful for all of your support. And I'll be catching you guys on Red Pill Podcast number 90 very soon. Much love.